Hi, everyone. Welcome to RedMonk Conversations. I am Rachel Stevens with RedMonk, and with me today I have Bob Quillin. Bob, you are off on a new adventure now. I'm so excited to hear about it. So why don't you please introduce yourself and tell us all what you are up to?
Great. Good to be here, Rachel. Great to see you. Yeah. Yeah. So Bob Quillin, CEO, co-founder at ControlTheory. And yeah, we just launched the company a few weeks ago at KubeCon in London, something we've been working on for a little over a year now. So it's a little work in progress. Just came out of stealth. And so it's an exciting time. It's the four co-founders that did Stack Engine. And
Okay.
Stack Engine, came out of the Kubernetes and container world, but the CNCF ecosystem back in the 2014, 2013 or so. And yeah, then we've seen kind of the similar track potentially maybe happening with OpenTelemetry. So you can talk all about that and kind of where that's going. But we're excited to really look at helping people regain control of their observability, which is kind of the control theory theme, and
Mhm.
focusing on some pain points today, but also looking at where the technology is going. So fun to get the actual original startup founders back together, the band back together, so to speak. Makes it kind of fun.
Always
So
fun.
yeah, yeah.
Always fun to get the band back together. So four co-founders, anyone else? Or is it just the four of you right now?
It's the four of us now, and we have a few engineers, so it's still less than 10 people. Still
Mhm.
kind of nice and compact. We announced 5 million in funding from Silverton, so we can kind of start growing a little bit.
Mhm.
Silverton's a Austin-based venture firm, and they funded, actually, I've been here in Austin almost 13, 14 years. Hyper9, Copper Egg, Stack Engine, and now onto Control Theory. So it's the fourth startup coming through in Austin, and we work with them a long time, and they're really good partners. And this is also part of the getting the whole band back together. We can kind of get our ecosystem plugged in. And some people have moved on, but there's a lot of folks here that are looking to do what's next. Coming out of COVID and onto the whole AI era. A lot of energy, a lot of fun, a lot of potential. We think so.
Always fun. And when people believe in either a problem space or the team, or kind of ideally both of
Mhm,
them, enough
mhm.
that they have decided to start a company, I love to hear that origin story. So tell me, you kind of mentioned about the Stack Engine team.
Right.
Tell me about the problem space. Like there are
Mhm.
a lot of observability companies out there. So what
Yeah.
what is the problem space that
Mhm.
Control Theory has seen? Why are you tackling it? Tell me what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, so we were looking at a variety of different kind of problems as we started to think about getting our team back together. We've all been in the observability space for a while. We had worked together at Copper Egg back in 2012, and we had a little startup that we competed with called Datadog, who's now a
Little
big
guy.
dog. Yeah, we were acquired kind of early in that process, and watched them grow and be a wildly successful and great company. And but as we watched observability for the last few years, it's something we know and love, and coming out of we've done a lot of work on APM and monitoring and logging and up and down the stack. We really thought that it hadn't really evolved sufficiently over the last few years. It kind of had flattened out from a technology innovation perspective, a lot of stagnation. And we started talking to customers and people we know, and in that broader circle, almost over 100 customers over the last couple of years, and really found not just the technology had kind of stagnated, but also the costs and other pain points had actually rocketed up, because it actually surprised us how much people were paying for observability, and six figures, seven figure, easily eating 20, 30, 40% of a cloud bill. And it's a big chunk of their spend now. So we said, hey, this is a problem that's super interesting. We know the technology kind of needs to change. You kind of look right now, there's a lot of, fat dumb pipes that go into a big data lake. You pay for ingestion of all that data. People want to use, they want you to take all the data in, to ingest it, to index it, and then to retain it. And you pay for all those three elements. And we thought there's just got to be a better way to do this, both technologically. We came up with this idea of more intelligence, more feedback loops in the system,
Mhm.
to actually help be more intelligent about what gets sent where. And that was kind of some initial idea, and that kind of got the control theory idea going, because control theory is about both observability and controllability. It's actually a part of the science and math of control theory. Dusted off our old college books in mathematics, and looked at in control theory and thought about it a little more deeply. So that's where the name of the company came from. And as we also looked at kind of where the technology and the evolution was going, we saw OpenTelemetry begin to emerge over the last few years and begin to mature to the point that it really reached a nice critical mass. We heard it over and over that people were either experimenting early on with OpenTelemetry, and then as we went to trade shows and talked to bigger companies, many of them actually had adopted it really full scale. So there's a wide spectrum of maturity, and they're seeing a lot of good success. Kind of just the first level of OpenTelemetry, which is collection and instrumentation. So we saw that being like a foundation for maybe starting to democratize and unsettle, as a kind of a building block of what's coming next, and kind of a disruption element, if you will. And we thought that first disruption domino to fall was OpenTelemetry coming in,
Yeah.
democratizing how people collect, how they instrument. And from there, we started looking at how do you then potentially build a control layer on top of that. Kind of similar if you think about the Kubernetes world, building the control layer and orchestrating on top of containers.
Hmm.
And we had been through that process in Stack Engine. And it kind of reminded us of also what we went through with Stack Engine. We actually required by Oracle Cloud, and we built out their managed Kubernetes service. And that's all about data planes and control planes and having a very scalable architecture and a set of patterns that are very scalable and repeatable. So we said, let's look at a control plane on top of OpenTelemetry and apply that technology as it's coming into fruition now to start solving some of these problems around cost control and operational control, and really helping people control what they have now and then hopefully move that into the future and solve some of these newer problems going forward. So, but that's a long origin story for a very short
No,
question.
it's a good one. Tell me more about the feedback loop. So, like,
Yeah.
where in the process
Mhm.
is the feedback loop? Is it like coming at the ingestion point, after the ingestion point? Where
Yeah,
are you trying to apply that?
we from a strategic perspective, we look across the whole supply chain for observability, from collection, where it comes out of source code,
Mhm.
into transit, and telemetry, and all the way out into analysis. And we said, actually, really early on, we started looking at, can we go on the developer side and just like identify what needs to be instrumented and be smarter about the instrumentation, like, right, go to the source.
Mhm.
But as we looked at the market, the pain point and the need was really right here in the middle, where we could actually start solving a problem originally and then start working out to the two ends, which is start working with the source code and
Okay.
working out to the analysis side. So one of the problems with telemetry pipelines, which are in the market right now, they've been out for a couple of years now. One, they're very proprietary. So they're using their own proprietary systems. They didn't really have the advantage of where OpenTelemetry is now and going forward. So we've leveraged OpenTelemetry so that opens up the collection and the control process and allows us to keep the data layer in the customer's environment. And we're just a control layer on top of it. So we're using the upstream standard contributed collector. And we're not actually changing that at all. So it's very much a standards approach. And then we can signal in and start having intelligence of how to set pipelines, how to set filters, understanding what the thresholds are, when to maybe open up telemetry and when to turn it back down. And that adaptive element, that feedback loop, can also then feedback from other systems. Maybe it's a root cause analysis system that wants more data. A lot of AI systems are very data hungry now, and they're looking for more data that's curated in a very specific way. So instead of going out and creating your own data, which a lot of these systems have to do, we can actually deliver that data to them and on demand, and they get feedback and loop into us when they need more data or when they need less data. Likewise, you can feed that back into the source code side too. Really, the most interesting part right now, that's kind of a strategic view, is helping people just how do you take open telemetry and make it more adaptive and easier to use, and setting the right filters, the right way to deduplicate, right? Picking up what kind of logs are coming in. Are they debug logs, and where's the spike coming from? And having the intelligence and controls that adapt on top of that. It's like auto tuning your open telemetry system. And that auto tuning concept gets a lot of people excited because they have open telemetry and they're just using it as just an agent or a collector, but they're not really taking advantage of the control layer just yet. And that's, I think, the next layer of disruption, where now we've got instrumentation and
Mhm.
collection democratized. So let's get control of distribution and transformation. And now we're starting to build a stack that can work us all the way up to solving root cause analysis and doing more diagnostics and doing some of the higher level issues, better working our way down and working our way up the stack in that particular layer. So Does that make
Well,
sense?
it
Or
might
yeah.
be optimistic to say that instrumentation is democratized. Like, I think there are a lot of people who still
Oh,
struggle with
oh
some
no.
of that.
Yeah.
But
Well, let's just say that it's the potential to be democratized. So
yes,
yes.
there
Um,
that I would agree with.
Okay, yeah. So I don't want to push too far ahead, but what's nice about is OpenTelemetry is that there's so many sources that have been built in already that you could use anything. So we can
Yeah,
go in and actually go into any environment. It could be your syslogs, it can be your Datadog, it could be Grafana, Prometheus, whatever you're
right.
using already. And there's a bunch of sources that have already been defined. So we don't have to build those. We get to leverage that community's work and that they can allows us to go into any environment. So you don't have to really be using OpenTelemetry to take advantage of this architecture just yet. But it's a way to begin to bring it in and use it on a kind of more aggressive and more kind of inspirational level too. So um, and we see a lot of folks starting to use it on more greenfield environments too. A lot of the new AI systems, et cetera. If I'm building out a new stack, a lot of the Kubernetes systems are using the nice open telemetry collector in there because it's actually very nicely built and instrumented already. And all the vendors are supporting it on the analysis side and the observability side. So, but yeah, there's a lot of work to do there. But I think people do understand if they want to try to break free from vendor lock-in and cost
Yeah.
issues, the first place to start is start using open telemetry, start finding ways to break out of if I'm using just the, Grafana or Datadog collector, I'm kind of locked into those guys. So, and they know that. That's kind of the idea. And it makes it very simple, very easy, and that's okay. But if you want to begin to break out of that, you can start using OpenTelemetry collector side by side and begin to find ways to maybe have more flexibility in the future too. So, we're seeing that in a variety of different kinds of use cases that are pretty interesting. So,
Yeah. I love that as the side by side, and you kind of
hmm
trade off the simplicity for the flexibility, get
hmm
yourself migrated, and then you can start to see where
yeah.
you go from there.
Yeah, and the migration word is pretty critical there. You point that out. There's so many migrations and transformations and consolidations that are going on right now. We see people consolidating to one vendor, or maybe they're all going into a Datadog, getting rid of a Splunk. Maybe they're actually taking out traces, which is a really exciting part that people are trying to find ways to use better for application performance management, distributed tracing. Maybe they're bringing Honeycomb on the side to do
Hmm.
tracing because maybe it costs too much to do that through Datadog, or maybe the functionality isn't where they want it. But having that flexibility within your control plane to be able to know where the data should go and be able to be smarter about distributing it out. You have that control to bring it in, consolidate it, or redistribute it to where you want to put it. So it puts you back in control. And the more you can actually get that instrumentation set up, get the control plane set up, now you're in a better position to not have all that intelligence stuck in your analysis system, your big observability tools. It can now redistribute back into the edge, closer to the code itself. And eventually, hopefully, it gets back into the code where the problem starts in the first place. So,
Gotcha. And as you're kind of coming into market, are you foreseeing your tools sitting alongside
mhm,
all of these observability vendors and helping manage
mhm,
all of them, or is it
yeah,
coming in with
yeah,
a replacement?
yeah. That's been our approach. Should say we think we can actually make it observably better.
Okay.
So you don't have to get rid of your existing tool. That's a key point. And thanks for pointing that out. That's and we thought that philosophy coming in. We didn't want to be another dashboard. In fact, our vision is maybe 3 to 5 to 7 years from now, maybe there are no more dashboards. It's kind of like the hope is like we don't have to have any dashboards. The answer's there, and you can have conversations, and the world changes. But between now and then, there's a lot of work to do, and that's kind of part of what we're investing in the infrastructure and the stack to do that. So, but yeah, for now, use what you have. You have the flexibility to bring in new tools and redistribute. A lot of folks are looking at. I've got all these logs going up into my observability vendor. Maybe I just take the logs I want to keep and store and put them in AWS3 or some other data lake like a ClickHouse.
Hmm.
Um, and maybe just only send my most important logs up to Datadog, for example. I could put them into cold storage, then rehydrate when I want to. I want to be able to find a spike when something happens, understand where it came from. That's another key point. We have this idea of metametrics that became pretty clear as we've talked to customers about, hey, let's fix your observability. They're like, well, I don't know what the problem is. I just know my bill is too high. We have to go in and kind of help them through that process. And there's a discovery process of where it's coming from, what's the origination, what's the attribution, how's it split up, where are the logs coming from, why are the traces so high? Maybe your custom metrics have a lot of cardinality. That's a
Hmm.
big cost factor for Datadog. 30-40% of some of the people's cost is around the cardinality or the dimensionality of the metrics you're tracking. And we can actually control that, detect that problem, and get them and put new processes and transformations in place to control and manage that. So you only send what you want when you need it. So lots of really cool little use cases in there, but it's all about more intelligence at that layer, moving that out of the centralized element into distributed, closer to the edge, more intelligent, more adaptive, and with feedback loops to support that. And it solves problems that are a customer said to us yesterday, so I'll give you $5 and you save me 10. It's kind of a that I can pitch that to management today because right now we're looking to save money. So
Yeah,
yeah, so that's a
usually
great
pretty
starting
compelling.
point.
And who's your ideal user here? Are
Mhm.
you wanting the developers to kind of be tracing things? Is this an ops team play? Like who's using this?
Yeah, it's definitely a platform engineering SRE ops team play. We have great success talking to CTOs and kind of folks, engineering leaders who understand the budget and are the ones that are trying to then implement strategies that fix that problem. So working our way kind of into the platform engineers and SREs who then actually have to implement it. They're usually the team that gets whipsawed back and forth. Okay, shut down the logs. They're too high this month. Oh, turn them back up. We got an event. We got a problem, an incident we got to solve. And that goes back and forth all the time. It's kind of a ping pong event. But folks who have a Datadog, Grafana, a larger observability solution, hundreds of engineers, usually 6 and 7 figure observability bills, actually are starting to feel that pain. And that could be even like mid to large size startups that we're talking to here, and your friends in Austin were like, how's your Datadog bill? They go, oh my God, it wasn't bad last year, but it just shot up. Now it's 5 figures and it's moving to 6 figures very easily, and soon it's going to be 7. So it really escalates pretty quickly. And we talked to a lot of folks who actually, are starting to use OTel, starting to use OpenTelemetry, and folks who are like further along in the maturity curve who are now looking to say, I've got thousands of OpenTelemetry collectors, but I want to now begin to find ways to manage that fleet, get the pipeline set up, do the configurations, adapt that as we go around those feedback loops as we talked about, and start using all the intelligence that OpenTelemetry has designed in versus just using it as an agent, which is kind of the starting point. Good place to start. You democratize your collection. Now let's get smarter about how we actually use that and distribute and filter and transform and do all the cool things that are possible to make observability better and more efficient. And then hopefully solve problems, get rid of the noise and raise the signal and get to the issue faster.
Well, this all sounds great. So if somebody out there is excited and wants to check you out, where should they go?
Yeah. So controltheory.com, tons of blogs. We have some things that are very high level, but things that go straight into, this is how you do tail sampling with your traces. This is how you hook up into a Datadog agent. And so there's some, good hands-on elements there for all the platform engineers, but also some higher level strategies of how to work through a OpenTelemetry deployments. But yeah, controltheory.com and reach out. We're looking forward to talking to more folks, and we're out there and building up our customers and excited to get involved with the whole ecosystem.
Well, Bob, thank you so much for your time. It was great chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Good to see you.
And if you enjoyed this conversation, please like and subscribe.